I left for work at 6 a.m. like always. At 6:07 a.m., my neighbor called the city saying my front door was unattended and that my house was abandoned. Animal control showed up. CPS was notified. When I came home, I found a citation taped to my door and my dog taken from the yard. She smiled from across the street and said, "I told you weren't ready to be a parent." But she didn't know I had security footage that not only cleared my name, but caught her entering my backyard, holding raw chicken. And something much worse. I live in Lakewood, Colorado, not far from Denver. It's a quiet neighborhood most of the time. Families, older folks, people who keep to themselves. I bought my house 5 years ago. It's nothing special, 3 bedrooms, older kitchen, cracked driveway, but it's mine. I work hard. I leave early, come home late, don't bother anyone. My job? Mechanic. I've been with the same garage since I was 21. We open at 7 a.m., but I always get in early to prep the bays. Most days, I'm backing out of my driveway by 6 a.m. sharp. I live alone, but I'm not lonely. A year ago, after a rough breakup, I adopted a dog. Abby. She's a golden lab, sweet and gentle. Doesn't bark much. Loves people. I built her a shaded spot in my backyard, with a raised bed and a water system on a timer. She's never alone for long. I come home on my lunch break, and I'm always back by 5. I don't have kids. Never claim to. Don't even have any friends with kids who visit often. But my neighbor across the street, Diane? She decided she knew better. Diane's in her early 50s. Divorced. She lives alone. I've never seen her work. She's outside a lot, watering plants that don't need water, sweeping a porch that's already clean. Watching. Always watching. When I first moved in, she seemed harmless. Nosy, sure, but not aggressive. She introduced herself the first week. Told me she used to live in Denver but came out here to get away from the crime. She asked about my job, my schedule. Said, "I like knowing who's around." I should have known right then. She started small. Complaints about my grass. Notes about noise that didn't happen. Passive comments like, "I noticed your trash cans were still out this morning," even though pickup had just happened. She even complained that Abby barked when the mail truck came by. That's it. Just once a day. One bark. But I ignored it. I thought she was just one of those people who needed something to fixate on. I stayed polite. I waved when I saw her. I didn't want drama. That changed last week. It was a Tuesday. Normal day. I got up, fed Abby, filled her water, gave her a little rub behind the ears. I checked the gate, latched and locked like always. I made sure the front door was locked too. Then I left at 6 a.m. At 12:15, I came home for lunch like always. Something felt off right away. My dog wasn't barking when I pulled up. Usually, I hear her tail thumping the fence as I get out of the truck. Not that day. There was a notice taped to my front door. It was from the city. Citation for animal neglect, immediate seizure. It said a neighbor reported an abandoned pet, and the front door being left wide open. I froze. I ran to the backyard. The gate was latched, but when I opened it, the yard was empty. Abby was gone. Her water bowl was tipped over. Her food was untouched. Her toy was sitting in the dirt. I felt sick. I looked around and saw Diane standing across the street. Right on her porch. Arms crossed. Smiling. Like she was proud. I walked over. I tried to stay calm. I asked, "Did you see what happened?" She tilted her head and said, "I told you, you're not ready to be a parent." I couldn't even respond. I just walked back to my house. I was shaking. That's when I remembered the cameras. I'd installed a Ring doorbell camera a couple weeks earlier. Same time I added a motion camera on the side of the house, just above the fence. I wanted to make sure nobody tried anything funny while I was at work. Break-ins had been happening a few blocks over. I pulled up the footage on my phone. The Ring app had a video from 6:03 a.m. Diane. Walking straight across the street. Holding a white plastic bag. She didn't hesitate. She went straight through my front gate. She looked around first, then crouched down and pulled something from the bag. Raw chicken. She tossed a piece into the yard. Abby wagged her tail and ran over. Then Diane reached into the bag again. Pulled out something else. A small red cloth. She bent down again near the fence. It looked like she was adjusting the latch, or maybe loosening it. Then she threw the cloth into the yard, right by the food bowl, and walked out. Calm as anything. At 6:06 she was back on her porch. At 6:07 she made the call. By 8 a.m., animal control was on my property. By 10 a.m., I had a voicemail from Child Protective Services asking to schedule a visit. Someone had reported a young child in danger at my address. Let me say that again. I don't have a kid. There's never been a child living in my house. She told them she heard cries from inside. That she believed I was unstable. That she saw a child's clothes in the yard. She was building a story. But I had video. And not just any video. Clear footage. Her face. Her actions. Her lies. I played that footage again and again, and each time, I got angrier. She didn't just try to take my dog. She tried to make the city believe I was abusing a child. If they had found anything else, hell, if I had an old toy in the garage or a baby shirt in the laundry from my niece's visit last year, it could have been a disaster. I spent the rest of the afternoon making calls. First to animal control. Then to CPS. Then to a lawyer. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Abby's face when I left that morning. Trusting. Happy. I thought of her lying in some cold cage, confused and scared. I thought of Diane, sleeping sound in her house like she hadn't just tried to ruin my life. By morning, I had a plan. I printed the footage. Still shots, frame by frame. Her crossing the street. Her opening my gate. Her tossing the raw chicken. Her planting that red shirt. I also downloaded the full video to a flash drive. I called the animal shelter first. Told them I had video evidence proving my dog was not neglected, not abandoned, and that someone had set me up. The woman on the phone didn't seem to care until I said the magic words. I have footage of the caller trespassing and tampering with my property. That changed everything. They told me I needed to come in. Bring the footage. File a formal complaint. I drove straight there. I met with the director. I showed her the video. Her face went pale. She paused it, rewound it, and said, "She went into your yard?" "Yes." "She fed the dog raw meat?" "Yes." "And that's a baby shirt?" I nodded. "I don't even have a kid." She planted it. They let me take Abby home that day. But they warned me, the city had to review everything. CPS still had an open case. Until that was closed, things were in progress. I called CPS next. Told them the same thing. They scheduled an in-person interview. I brought them the footage, too. The caseworker didn't say much. Just took notes and nodded a lot. I could tell they were used to false reports. But I also knew how serious it was. Someone calls in a child abuse tip, even if it's fake, they have to act. I asked, "So what happens to the person who made the report?" She looked up from her clipboard. "If we can prove they knowingly made a false report? That's a felony." That was all I needed to hear. But I didn't stop there. I filed a police report. Trespassing. Harassment. Filing a false report. I gave them the video, the printed stills, everything. They took it seriously. Said a detective would follow up. They also said something that made my stomach turn. "She's done this before." I blinked. "What?" "She's made similar calls about other neighbors." But this is the first time there's been hard evidence. Apparently, Diane had a history. Complaints to code enforcement. Animal control. Even CPS once before. But it was always concerned neighbor stuff. Hard to prove malice. No one had ever caught her in the act. Until now. They asked if I wanted a restraining order. I said yes. But even after that, she didn't stop. The next morning, I woke up to find my trash cans knocked over and rotten food smeared on my driveway. A week later, someone threw a brick at my truck window, didn't break it, but left a crack right down the middle. I knew it was her. But she was smart. No fingerprints. No cameras caught her doing that part. So I added more cameras. 4 more. Front, back, side, roof line. Every inch of my property, covered. And I waited. Then something happened I wasn't expecting. One of the newer neighbors, a guy named Ray, came over one afternoon. He's in his 60s. Quiet guy. Keeps to himself. He looked nervous. Said, "You got a minute?" He told me Diane had come to his door a week before my dog was taken. Said she was worried about me. Said she thought I was going through something. And might be dangerous. She told him she saw a child in my house and thought maybe I was hiding something. Ray didn't believe her. But he didn't say anything either. He didn't want to get involved. Now he was. "I saw her go into your yard that morning," he said. "Didn't want to get in trouble, but I feel bad now." That was huge. A second witness. I called the detective and gave them Ray's statement. They added it to the report. The next week, I saw a patrol car parked outside her house. She was standing on the porch, arguing with an officer. I couldn't hear what she said, but her hands were flying everywhere. She looked furious. That night, my doorbell rang. I opened it. Nobody there. Just an envelope on the ground. Inside was a single piece of paper. Typed. "You think you've won, but this isn't over. You should have just moved when I asked." I kept it. Gave it to the police. They said it wasn't enough for arrest, but it was being added to the file. Now I was pissed. She wasn't just some nosy neighbor. She was dangerous. She'd created an entire fake story, planted evidence, and tried to ruin my life. All because, what? She didn't like me having a dog? Didn't want someone young living on her block? I wasn't going to move. I wasn't going to roll over. I was going to destroy her legally. But Diane had one last card to play, and it would change everything. A week after the letter showed up, things got quiet. Too quiet. Diane wasn't on her porch. No weird noises at night. No complaints to the city. For a minute, I thought maybe she'd finally backed off. Maybe the cops had scared her. I was wrong. The calm was just the eye of the storm. It started again one morning when I walked out to my truck and noticed a white van parked across the street. No logos, no plates. Just sitting there. Engine off. Windows tinted. It didn't move for hours. I saw someone inside, but every time I looked, they ducked out of view. That night, the van was gone. But the next day? It was back. This went on for 3 days. I finally walked across the street and knocked on Ray's door. "You see that van?" I asked. He nodded. "It's been here since Tuesday. I thought maybe it was with Diane, but..." He trailed off. I could see it on his face. He knew something was off too. I called the police again. Reported a suspicious vehicle. They sent a patrol car, but the van pulled off just before they arrived. No plate to trace. Then 2 nights later, my back gate was open. Abby was still inside, but the latch was completely broken. Snapped right off the post. I checked the camera footage, and my heart dropped. Someone in a hoodie walked straight into my backyard around 2:40 a.m. They walked past the camera like they didn't care. Didn't run, didn't even hide their face. Just calmly broke the latch, walked back out, and left the gate swinging. And who was it? Diane's son. I recognized him from a Facebook post she made months ago, some family barbecue photo with her arm around a guy in his late 20s, tattoo on his neck, same hoodie. His name was Kyle. He didn't live with her, but he showed up every couple months. Now he was helping her mess with me. That was the final straw. I went full war mode. I brought all the new footage, Kyle, the van, the broken gate, to the detective. They finally said what I'd been waiting to hear. She's escalating. We need to get ahead of this. They got a warrant to pull Diane's phone records and security camera footage from city-owned traffic cams nearby. They even subpoenaed the call she made to the city on the morning she got Abby taken. But while all this was going down, I took things into my own hands too. I started talking to neighbors. One by one. Quietly. I asked them if Diane had ever made them uncomfortable. If she'd ever said something strange. I didn't push, just asked. And what I heard made my stomach turn. She had tried this before. 2 houses down, a woman said Diane once left a note on her door claiming she saw child abuse signs. No CPS call that time, but still creepy. Another neighbor said Diane complained about her husband, acting erratic, and told the HOA he was dangerous. There were 6 different people with similar stories. Then Ray dropped a bomb. She did this in her old neighborhood too, he said. I blinked. How do you know? She told me. Drunk. First year she moved in here, she brought over wine. Talked about how she had to get away from her last neighborhood. Said they ganged up on her. Mentioned court stuff. CPS, police, even an old boss. It was a pattern. Diane moved into neighborhoods, picked targets, created chaos, and waited until they either moved or got ruined. But this time, she'd picked the wrong target. And now, she was about to get exposed in front of the entire city. A month later, everything came to a head. The police had built a full case. Between my video footage, Ray's statement, and the other neighbors speaking out, they had enough to press charges. But what really broke it open were the phone records and call logs. The 911 call Diane made about the abandoned child? They pulled the audio. She was calm. Too calm. She described the child's shirt she supposedly saw before going into the yard. But the video proved she planted that shirt after she entered. She slipped up. Lied on a recorded call. Then they looked into Kyle, her son. Turned out he was already on probation. Assault charge from 2 years back. The second he showed up on my cameras, he violated that probation. The cops arrested him first. That's when Diane lost it. She came to my house. Pounded on the door. Screaming. Crying. Accusing me of ruining her life. Saying I trapped her son. I didn't answer. Just called the cops and waited. They arrested her right there on my porch. Trespassing. Harassment. Filing a false report. Animal cruelty. Attempted criminal mischief. And after they found out she'd done similar things in 2 other cities, they added a pattern of behavior enhancement. But here's where I have to admit something. I could have stopped at that. But I didn't. Once I had everything I needed, proof, witnesses, her arrest, I could have let it go. I got Abby back. My name was cleared. CPS closed their case. I was fine. But I wasn't okay. I wasn't sleeping. I kept checking the cameras at night. Every time I saw a car I didn't recognize, I'd tense up. My hands shook when the doorbell rang. That feeling, that someone could lie about me, plant things, try to take things from me, and almost get away with it. It stuck to me. So I went further. I got a lawyer and sued her. For emotional distress. Defamation. Property damage. Legal fees. I dragged her name through court for every dollar I could squeeze. And I won. Not a ton, she didn't have much. But enough to cover my repairs, legal bills, and 6 months of lost sleep. They forced her to sell her house to pay it. She was gone by winter. And me? I still live in the same house. Still go to work at 6 a.m. Still come home to Abby wagging her tail by the fence. But now there's a metal plate on my gate. A bigger camera above the door. And the day the for sale sign went up across the street, I stood on my porch. Watched her drive off with her son in the passenger seat. And I smiled. Because Diane was right about one thing. I wasn't ready to be a parent. But I was damn sure ready to fight like hell for the things I love. And I won.